know, just to be playing Pokemon for that long, to be involved in it, both from a maybe content creation sort of aspect to the commentating aspect to the competing aspect, is just really a strength for him, I think. Evan, on the other hand, you know, definitely an OG player. It looks like the jackets are coming off, which means this is getting serious. It looks like these... Oh man, Evan just flung it, actually. He didn't even bother to hang it up on his chair. These guys are ready to go.
Rolling up the sleeves. You know, we're getting started up in here. It's going to be a really great time for us as well on the desk.
The just kitty gloves are off.
Yeah, the junior gloves are off. The master's gloves are on. They're ready to go. And Aaron Cybertron Zheng's opponent is going to be none other than Evan Plaid Latt. So it's going to be a great match between the two of them.
Yeah, and Evan also another sort of mainstay in the Pokemon community for a very long time. I mean, Evan was honestly the kind of Pokemon trainer that I looked up to when I was getting started back in the 2009 Video Game Championship season, which was a very, very long time ago, unfortunately. And, you know, I just gotta say, he has really great taste in his trainer name. You know, it just looks like he's really come prepared for this tournament. So shout outs to him and that lovely team that he's featuring with the Jellicent, Rhyperior, Ferrothorn, Charizard, Dragapult, and Togekiss versus Aaron Cybertron Zheng's team of Whimsicott, Rotom Heat, Conkeldurr, Snorlax, Togekiss, and Duraludon. So I think that Aaron's team is definitely a bit more topical based off of what we've been seeing throughout the week, our weekend here today. But, you know, sometimes you just got to go with the team that you're very comfortable with. And for Evan to run, you know, such a unique team, he has to be very, very comfortable with running it. I'm sure he's seen this before.
I'm sure he's seen this team before, too. At least I'm hoping that he's seen this team before, too. But it is about almost time that we're going to be able to get into the game. The very first game one here on the Commentator Showdown. And it is going to be Evan leading with the Togekiss and the Dragapult, where Aaron is going to be leading with a Togekiss of their own and a Snorlax.
So Togekiss, one of the most popular Pokemon we've been seeing here throughout the day. I think almost every single match we've featured on stream has featured a Togekiss or two. And I really like how Aaron's decided to lead his Togekiss next to the Snorlax. We saw Snorlax in that last round of Swiss do a lot of work for Graham with the help of that belly drum. You know, having a Pokemon like Togekiss alongside of it that can use Follow Me to sort of distract attacks away from that Snorlax will certainly help it get that belly drum activated. Fortunately for Aaron, though, that Snorlax also is a normal type Pokemon, and Dragapult is known for using, you know, very powerful ghost type attacks. So I like how Evan's already adjusted into that Ferrothorn, which will have a better chance of sort of outlasting that Snorlax as we go throughout this game.
Well, we are going to see a Dynamax turn 1 here, and it is going to be a Togekiss as the very first Dynamax of this set will be coming out from Aaron's side of the fields. And that is going to be threatening quite a bit of damage. We've seen Togekiss often run quite a number of different offensive moves, so it is going to be a max airstream just to start to set the speed of this game. And a critical hit to boot, that tells us a lot about that ability that it might be running.
Yeah, and it's interesting that Aaron chose to go for speed control here because Snorlax is a very slow Pokemon. You have to wonder if maybe he was worried that something like this Ferrothorn would come out on Evan's side of the field. So with the belly drum and with the speed boost from that max airstream, you know, that Snorlax would be able to hypothetically outspeed this Ferrothorn and then deal some big damage. Fortunately, Evan kind of predicted that with the use of that Yawn. So now Aaron has a really tough choice to make. You know, he can either switch out the Snorlax and not get the opportunity to utilize that belly drum really at all throughout this game, or he can go ahead and go for an attack and just accept that, you know, he'd be trading one potential knockout here for, you know, his Snorlax being put to sleep.
I feel as though that's a really difficult choice to have just because you don't really want to waste the belly drum turn.
No, you don't. And what's really tough about Snorlax in the VGC 2020 format is that it's harder to use the recycle to get your berry back. You know, G-Max Snorlax does have the advantage of going for max replenish, which can give you the berry back, but it's not consistent. And I think one of the things that benefits Snorlax the most in past metagames was consistent access to that berry.
The crowd is going absolutely wild. The Max Airstream is going to get the knockout onto the opposing Togekiss, and Evan is going to be one down in this series. But Snorlax also showing off that it has Darkest Lariat. That Belly Drum is going to make sure that it is going to be a massive amount of damage, bringing that Ferothorn down below half. But the Gyro Ball, oh my goodness, that also packs a punch as well.
No weakness policy on that Togekiss though, so that's probably a good sign for Evan there. And I really like how he chose to target that Togekiss with the Gyro Ball. Fortunately, the Ferothorn is bulky enough that something like a max attack Darkest Lariat isn't enough to pick up the KO, but Evan is going to have to find a way to bring that Ferothorn's health back up if he wants to try and keep it around for the remainder of the game. One cool thing about Ferothorn that really, I think, makes it stand out compared to a lot of other, slower sort of slow play Pokemon is that it has access to very consistent recovery with something like Leftovers and Leech Seed. And then you can also go for, these moves that can deal some big damage thanks to the fact that it doesn't have a great speed stat, so like Gyro Ball. Paired with something like that Jellicent on Evan's side of the field, maybe he can find a way to go for a Trick Room and then just rely on this Ferothorn to really carry the team, which is honestly what it does best when you know your opponent doesn't have any moves that can target it.
Well, let's find out, because this Ferothorn is going to go for a Protect, but it's not going to be able to protect all of that damage.
It held on!
Score, but it does hold on. Even though it was a critical hit, Evan celebrating the fact that that Ferothorn is going to be able to stay on the field, and Snorlax going to maintain its sleeping position. Jellicent getting off the Trick Room, that is going to set up Evan for a lot of success.
But that Ferothorn really has to find a way to get its health back, because even though it gets the Leftovers recovery here, it still is just a sliver of health away from getting knocked out. And, if this Snorlax is able to wake up, or if this Togekiss is able to find a way to attack this next turn, that's going to be an easy knockout. And you've got to remember, Evan's last Pokemon on his team that he brought to this game is going to be that Dragapult, which is a very fast Pokemon, so you don't want that on the field for Trick Room. So Evan is going to have to find a way to just make sure that this Ferothorn can remain on the field for these 4 turns of Trick Room to use them to his absolute advantage. We don't even know what Pokemon Aaron has in the back yet. It's very possible that something like that Conkeldurr could make an appearance, which would unfortunately be game over for Evan.
Well, Aaron, making a switch here, it is going to be the Togekiss coming out for the Rotom, and Rotom's going to be threatening quite a bit. Will be able to eat this Gyro Ball very easily here, and not going to be able to do too much, but the Scald now coming out into the Snorlax. This is just some chip damage. Snorlax waking up, will be able to go for a Darkest Lariat, but this Jellicent showing off that it does have a berry to be able to deal with some of that super effective damage. So Jellicent going to be able to hang on for this one from the Colbur Berry.
Yeah, and Jellicent will have the opportunity to potentially heal itself if it's carrying something like Strength Sap, which, again, given the Colbur Berry and the Scald, I feel like this Jellicent would carry a move like that, which should help it heal itself back up. But again, unfortunately for Evan, I think that the Snorlax with the Belly Drum just has too much momentum on its side. It woke up exactly when it needed to, and Evan's team just lacks a way to deal the big damage to the Snorlax that it needs to right now.
Leech Seed's going to help a little bit. Strength Sap, though, coming in from the Jellicent's going to be able to bring up some of its health.
It should be all of it, given
how... should be a very, very big amount there because of the Belly Drum that we saw before. But the Darkest Lariat now into the Jellicent's going to be super effective amounts of damage. And there's no Colbur Berry to stop this one. So Aaron going to be up 2 Pokemon now in the series, while Rotom gets a free Nasty Plot.
That is really good for that Rotom, not going to lie. But to Ferothorn's benefit, it will be able to stick around for 1 turn. It was able to connect a Leech Seed with that Snorlax, but it might just be too little too late. A really interesting thing that Evan could potentially do here with the Dragapult as his last Pokemon is use something like a Phantom Force, again, if his Dragapult has it, to try and stall out the remainder of this Trick Room so it's just off the field enough so that by the time, it does decide to stick around on the field, it just can deal that consistent damage. But I don't know. It's going to be a really tough call. That Rotom is a very, very scary Pokemon for that Ferrothorn to be staring down. And, you know, depending on how Aaron has trained that Rotom Heat, it might just be bulky enough so that the Dragon Bolt has to attack it 1 or 2 times with something in order to knock it out. And even then, you know, Ferrothorn is still within KO range from a lot of different stuff on that Snorlax or even potentially that Conkeldurr. So Evan does have a lot of, it's an uphill battle for him going into this game, but maybe all you need is a Dynamax in that situation. I don't know.
That's true. Maybe all you need is a Dynamax, and Evan hasn't gotten a chance to Dynamax just yet, so it's going to be Dragapult's turn to Dynamax on the field, and we'll see what kind of damage he's able to dish out here.
Yeah, it really is a beautiful Dragapult. You know, I love the yellow on it. It's just beautiful Pokemon. Beautiful
it is
Pokemon.
A beautiful Pokemon. Ferrothorn, though, going for the Power Whip into the Snorlax. Still not going to do very much damage to it. Snorlax going to be such a bulky Pokemon, getting off yet another Darkness Lariat, and Dragapult again. This Snorlax just getting clean knockouts left and right.
Belly Drum is terrifying. That's it. Belly Drum is terrifying.
Belly Drum is terrifying. And the overheat here is going to be enough to seal the deal. Ferrothorn is not going to be able to do that. So Aaron Cybertron taking the first game.
I don't know. Evan is really going to have to go back to his drawing board, so to speak, to figure out how to play this a little bit better going into Game 2. Unfortunately for him, I really like how he brought the option for the Trick Room with the Jellicent and the Ferrothorn. I just think that it wasn't quite the setup that he needed, given the fact that Aaron does have a Snorlax on the field. You know, Snorlax is one of those Pokemon that a team like Evans would really struggle to play against. He does have options. You know, Rhyperior can be a fairly bulky Pokemon when you play it the right way with access to solid rock, Dynamax, weakness policy. It might be beneficial for him to consider, I don't know, maybe leading something along with the Jellicent, set up Trick Room, and then rely on the Rhyperior to just go for that big damage. But at the same time, you know, that is a bit of a ask, especially when you're staring down a team like Aaron's, which again is just a lot of really strong Pokemon that clearly have been trained very well and just work very well together.
That's kind of the biggest issue that I see with Evan's team right now, is that you have to have a setup turn in order to utilize the Trick Room, but that's a setup turn for Aaron as well, especially if he wants to use that for the
pull on it?
The Belly Drum.
Yeah, and it's also really interesting to consider just, you know, how he can sort of lead that Jellicent to get Trick Room up. You know, a lot of times when it comes to a team like the one that Evan has, you know, trained very hard to compete in this tournament here today with, you basically lead Jellicent alongside of a very strong attacker, and you just rely on the fact that the Pokemon that is attacking, I don't know, maybe like the Charizard or the Dragapult or whatever will pick up a KO that will give Jellicent the opportunity to, you know, use that trigger.
I have no audio cues though, so there's literally nothing.
If we were to go back to when Evan started playing Pokemon, you know, way back in the early days of VGC, you might see something more common like a fake out with a Trick Room setter. You know, just flinch, Trick Room, easy. Unfortunately, that kind of strategy doesn't really work as well in the 2020 metagame. I think
when you have Dynamax Pokemon.
Not when you have Dynamax Pokemon. I mean, certainly Hatterene and Indeedee.
Good luck, Evan.
Good
luck, Aaron.
Have fun. And maybe are something that he considered building into a team at some point in time, but unfortunately did not quite make the cut for this team.
Yeah, I don't think that was one of the specific choices that Evan was thinking about when making this team.
When he worked very hard to make this team. He also does have Follow Me potentially on that Togekiss. Again, you know, either Attacker Jellicent or Jellicent Togekiss would be what I would recommend if I were playing this game, but this is Evan's show, and I'm just going to root for him to do his best. No regrets.
Well, the commentator showdown is going to commence once again. We've got Game 2 between Aaron Cybertron Zheng and Evan Plaid Latt. 2 commentators for the 2020 Oceania International Championships.
2 commentators enter, 1 commentator leaves. Except not, no. This is all just good fun. I mean, we're all good friends, as I hope you can tell from this. It's always a lot of fun as well to sort of showcase the fact that, you know, we still play
Pokemon.
Yeah, we still play.
Don't count us out of things just yet.
You know, we may not be sitting at the top tables or really any table at all, but we still go out there occasionally at our locals and
I
go
like playing at my locals.
X2 and then maybe drop and get Chinese food or something. I don't know.
Don't dox me, Gabby.
I mean, technically that was more of a self-burn than anything, but you just happened to also be there.
That's true. No, on a more serious note, playing at locals has actually been a lot of fun because there are so many different players that I've run into that their very first time was playing at a local, and I love hearing that phrase. This is my first Pokemon tournament. I've never played at one before, and it's really fun to see what those players can do.
I know, and it can be super intimidating, I think, to go sit and go to a local or go to a tournament like this. So it's really fun to sort of broadcast these kind of matches as well, where, excuse me, there's not as much on the line, but everybody's just having a good time. And I think that's an amazing thing about Pokemon, is that you can have fun when you just, you know, maybe magically have someone in your ear telling you, maybe lead Togekiss Jellicent, it's a good play.
Maybe lead
it's a good play.
Jellicent, because, you know, that might actually be the way to victory here. I think that Evan might have heard you for that one, because what do we see here? Togekiss Jellicent, and now you have the ability to follow me and set up that Trick Room.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a threat from that Whimsicott on Aaron's side of the field, but fortunately this is not the 2011 metagame, and Whimsicott no longer carries Taunt consistently, so I think that Evan will have an opportunity here, and you know, the cool thing about this lead, especially if he goes for the follow me on Togekiss and it does get KO'd by something like maybe a Fake Tears and a Thunderbolt from that Rotom, is that with Togekiss out of the way, that will give him an opportunity to send in that Rhyperior to deal some big damage, you know, with the Dynamax.
Absolutely.
And that's the kind of opening you really want to look for, but no follow me from Evan here.
No follow me from Evan, which means that Moonblast is going to get the special attack drop as well as some of that damage. And a Will-O-Wisp into the Togekiss. This is a what we would call maybe non-standard turn one play here.
I think we saw a big brain play from both these trainers, because you would think that Will-O-Wisp into the Togekiss slot would be amazing if you were expecting a Rhyperior switch in, but no Trick Room either, so just a little bit of status going around, a little bit of damage, and I think that special attack drop from the Moonblast was actually really important, given how it left Rotom with about 2/3 of his health rather than about less than half.
No, it actually was a very heads-up play from both of these players. I think going for the Trick Room would have been a little bit of a boon to Evan's strategy here, just because Aaron might know what Evan's doing.
I don't know. I mean,
this team.
I mean, it certainly is a team that would look familiar, I think, to a lot of people who were actively playing VGC in early January. If I just had to make a wild guess, I mean, I don't know what's going on with this team in particular. But the cool thing, I think, about that last turn was that, you know, Evan did buy himself a little bit of time and a little bit of chip damage. And you never know when those that little bit of chip damage is going to be a surprise KO later on in the game.
Well, Rotom's going for the Thunderbolt into the Togekiss, and the Follow Me is going to be able to redirect that attack. So that's going to be an excellent play there coming out from Evan, and a Scald as well onto the Rotom. It's going to be able to get that Rotom just low enough that it's going to be able to use its berry here.
Yeah, and you know, now that I see how Evan is playing this match, I have to wonder, maybe he's trying to like fake the Trick Room for multiple turns in a row to force Aaron to keep switching to reveal his Pokemon. I mean, we don't see the Snorlax, which was such a intimidating presence going on in that game one. It's possible that Evan doesn't want to set up the Trick Room until he knows whether or not that Pokemon is present. You know, now that it's the Conkeldurr on the field along with that Rotom, Evan is in a really interesting spot to just go for a Dazzling Gleam on that Togekiss, potentially alongside of another Scald, and try to pick up a double knockout this turn.
Well, Togekiss going for another Follow Me for Evan. Is going to become the center of attention, and Rotom again going for the Thunderbolt, pressing that button will be able to knock out the Togekiss. So Togekiss going down here, and Conkeldurr going for the Thunder Punch into the Jellicent. That's going to deal
a ton of damage to that Jellicent. It's still on the field though, but still no Trick Room. It's almost like speed control just doesn't exist in this match.
They're just going for raw damage. I mean, I can't blame them. Playing hyper-aggressive is definitely my style of play, so it's fun to watch.
Yeah, it's definitely not my style of play, honestly. I prefer a more slow defensive game with, you know, Trick Room on the team. So knowing that Evan chose to bring that Charizard in the back, I think that's probably the Pokemon he wants to Dynamax, which explains why he didn't go for the Trick Room. And I gotta give him credit. I think that bluffing the Trick Room setup with the Togekiss and Jellicent lead was actually a really smart play. Now he's able to go for the Dynamax, or potentially even the Gigantamax on that Charizard go for some big damage onto that Conkeldurr, but he really has to watch out for that Rotom since it's been using Thunderbolt a lot. You have to wonder if it's holding one of those choice items.
You would have to worry about that, but it's not going to be a Dynamax. It's going to be a Gigantamax Charizard, and what a beautiful sight to behold. One of my favorite Pokemon in the game right now. That Gigantamax Charizard has access to that move, G-Max Wildfire, which ends up making it such a difficult Pokemon to deal with because you don't really need to damage calculate. You can just kind of let that G-Max Wildfire do the rest of that damage for you, but it's going to get matched by Dynamax Conkeldurr here coming out from Aaron Cybertron Zheng.
Those are two very big Pokemon on the field right now. You have to imagine they're really going to be throwing some big punches around as well.
Well, Max Airstream into the Conkeldurr actually takes that one like a champ. Might not have even needed a Dynamax in order to survive it, but the most important part of that move is that Evan now has the speed in their favor, so not going to opt to use the Trick Room this time, really utilizing Jellicent to get some raw damage, but an overheat from the Rotom going to be enough to get the knockout.
Just a little bit of maybe showing off there from Aaron, going for the overheat KO on a Jellicent. Does leave the Conkeldurr free to go for something like a, I was going to say, Max Lightning from the Thunder Punch, but hey, maybe you just want to boost your attack a couple stages too there. This Conkeldurr honestly did not take a lot of damage from that Airstream. I think it's also probably holding something like the Assault Vest. Conkeldurr is probably one of the best Pokemon to take advantage of a item like that, so it'll be a couple of turns because of that before this Charizard could potentially threaten a KO on that Conkeldurr. So it's going to come down to how Evan decides to use this Dragapult and Charizard together to sort of power through the three Pokemon we've seen on Aaron's side of the field and that potential last Pokemon that we have not seen yet. If Dragapult, I don't know, maybe has access to something like Dragon Dance and can weave a couple of those in somehow, that'll certainly threaten a lot of damage. It could also go for, maybe something to KO this Rotom, but okay, yeah, use the G-Max Wildfire to pick up the KO and deal some chip damage in between turns. That's pretty solid too.
I think maybe that's Evan's turn to stunt a little bit on Aaron Cybertron Zheng, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the overheat for the KO on Jellicent, the G-Max Wildfire to KO the Rotom. I get it. It's equally balanced as all things should be.
Oh, but Max Lightning from Conkeldurr into the Charizard.
That's going to be an easy KO there.
That is an easy KO, and all that's left for Evan's going to be that Dragapult. Terrain getting set here from the Max Lightning, but I don't know if Dragapult against the world is going to be enough.
I mean, Dragapult does have the benefit of being part Ghost type, so, the fighting type moves that Conkeldurr has won't be dealing a lot of damage. Did get one of those Dragon Dances up, so it's at +1 attack, +1 speed. But knowing what this Dragapult might know for attacks, the Snorlax is there. Really, it's just going to be a Darkest Lariat, I think, at this point before it gets knocked out. So, shout outs to Evan. I think that he did a really good job trying to, figure out a strategy.
He's not done yet.
He's not done yet, actually.
Not done yet.
It ain't over until it's over. So maybe we should just see what he has planned up his sleeve.
I think you're right about that. But this is going to give, that Phantom Force is actually going to give Aaron a free ability to use that Belly Drum onto Snorlax. And going to heal up very close to full with that berry in tow. Now you have the ability to use that Darkest Lariat as soon as you know that Dragapult pops its head back up.
I'm almost positive that this Dragapult wouldn't have needed the Belly Drum in order to get KO'd by that move. But
I don't think so either, but it's kind of showy and flashy.
I mean, but if you know that the Dragapult's going to be disappearing from the field for a turn as well, it's always better to play things safe, and I think that this was a very safe turn for Snorlax to go for something like that Belly Drum. So, I think Aaron did a really good job of recognizing that even though that might not be the safest play, he certainly had room to go for it, and this Dragapult will have the opportunity to KO potentially this Conkeldurr, given that it has +1 attack, and we know that if the Conkeldurr does have the Assault Vest, I think that it's still going to do enough damage through that. But again, all Snorlax has to do is really land an attack here, and I think it's Aaron's game.
But Evan got a chance to get a knockout.
He did get the knockout.
Get the knockout onto the Conkeldurr, but Snorlax going for that Darkest Lariat with the Belly Drum boost as well is going to end up making that final knockout, and Aaron Cybertron Zheng knocking out the final Pokemon, taking the Commentator Showdown.
Poor Evan, maybe